What's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is John Asia here. This time we're in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, one of my favorite countries in the world. And in this video I actually wanted to share about why I want to move to Asia as someone who's born in Europe, from the Netherlands to be precise. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Xia. I was born and raised in the Netherlands from immigrant Chinese parents. So I grew up there and I've lived there my whole life. During my student time, I really wanted to connect a bit more to my Asian roots, which led me to live in Asia for 1.5 years. I was working, doing an internship in Kuala Lumpur for half a year. This was such a great experience that I wanted to do more of those experiences abroad while I was still young. So I also did an internship in Singapore for half a year where I worked there, and I've lived in Beijing for half a year studying at Tsinghua University to improve my Mandarin Chinese. So these experiences have been so life-changing for me as well as eye-opening, because I really got to find out about that I actually felt really comfortable in that region and that I wanted to explore that area more, which is also why I created this channel to kind of document my experiences in discovering this new chapter of myself where I want to be working in Asia, traveling in Asia, and studying in Asia, and also share that journey with you guys to show what it's like from someone who has Asian roots but who grew up abroad in a Western country, reconnecting to his roots again. And today we're in a very special place. We're at the area right now where I did my internship in Malaysia, like my first time abroad 4 years ago, back in 2022 when I was working at Unilever. So right now we're kind of in the CBD area of where all the companies were located. And I would just live 1 minute nearby and walk this area every day, get my coffee here, get my lunch here, for example. So this place actually holds a lot of sentimental value. And the moment I came here, I just felt like it was so different from back home, because the Netherlands is such a small country, and to live in a tropical country like Malaysia, it's like entering kind of a paradise, I would say. And my experience here was so great. I had the most wonderful team, the most wonderful colleagues who would really look after me, make sure that I don't feel lonely, because like they just interacted with me a lot. They were also quite interested in me because, I look like them, but I grew up in a foreign country, and that just led to a lot of interesting conversations. Alright, we just got kicked out because I can't film there. Where was I with my story? I think I really like the lifestyle here, like especially in Southeast Asia. It just feels very much alive. Like there's just so much energy in the region. Just the people, they're very friendly. There's just so much to do, and it's just a contrast in Europe where everything closes at, for example, 5 or 6 p.m. And the food here is just really amazing. There's like so many different types of variant of different types of like yummy food, and I'm just sick and tired of eating bread and like pasta and like potatoes. And yeah, you have Asian restaurants in Europe, of course, but yeah, it's just different here. Like you have the authentic experience here. I think in terms of development, there's also a lot of growth going on in this region at the moment. I feel like in some Western countries, there's kind of things are already very well, you know, especially in Europe. Like it just feels a bit stagnant. Like things move very slow because there's a lot of bureaucracy. And in contrast, in Asia, like things are very much upcoming, you know, like there's a lot of like growth and building going on here, which is just also interesting from an environment perspective, to be in that kind of like thriving environment. Also maybe related to your career, to be part of a growing environment. And another thing is the weather. When I'm in Southeast Asia, it's just like two things: either it's warm or it's raining. And honestly, like I prefer this over like 4 seasons in Europe. And especially where I'm at, it's just like 50% of the time it's just raining and cold and dark, you know. I still remember in winter, like I wake up, when I go to work it's dark, and when I get off work at 5-6 p.m. it's dark. So you don't get any sunlight during the day unless you take walks and stuff. But like here it's just like sunny every day, and I think that like also does a lot with my mood and how happy I feel like in my day to day, I would say here. I think another topic is safety. I feel very safe here in Asia, and I would argue that in a lot of Asian countries, it's even safer than in Europe at the moment. For example, when I lived in Singapore, I could just leave my stuff on the table when I was dining in the food court, go somewhere and come back, get my food, and my stuff would still be there. Whereas if you would do that in some European countries or most European countries, your stuff would be gone. And then, of course, there's the discussion about identity. So I'm a Dutch-born Chinese. I'm ethnically Chinese. My parents are Chinese, but yeah, like I grew up Dutch, so I'm basically Dutch. I think when I talk to a lot of my peers in the Netherlands, interestingly, they all share like the same experience with me. Like a lot of my friends, they're also considering moving to Asia, for example, for the same reasons. But I think a big one is also identity. I think we grew up where we're kind of a minority. Like people, we don't look like the majority back home. And honestly, sometimes growing up, that's been hard. For example, due to discrimination or like racism or whatever. But in general, it was fine because yeah, we're also like we grew up there, you know. So we also grew up with the same norms and values, and I get along fine with like I don't know, like locals there, I would say. Malaysia was just a very inspiring experience for me. For the first time, the majority of the people around me like looked like me. To be in an environment where like the culture, the norms and values are kind of similar to what you grew up with back home, that's very different, I would say. There's a sense of familiarity and a sense of belonging every time when I'm in Asia. Like suddenly, I don't feel like the odd one out anymore. Like when I'm walking across the street, I think back home I'm definitely grateful for like being able to grow up in Europe. Like a lot of things are organized very well. The education system is good. Like you're taken care of, for example. But I think for me, I just kind of hit a plateau. Perhaps it's due to interest, perhaps it's due to identity, or it's a mix of like all those things combined. But I don't think there's a lot of growth for me anymore there. And that's why I really want to venture into these kind of areas where I really feel like home, where I really feel like there's growth, where I want to develop myself. And for me, that's Asia. And in the past few years, I've also considered moving here completely because I'm still based in Europe. And I think a very interesting topic that just came to mind is the grass greener at the other side, or the concept of the grass is greener at the other side. I think it's very, very interesting and funny. When I met people here, they have the feeling that they want to go to the West, for example, for things like the work-life balance, or just for a better life, or stuff like that. And when they hear that I want to come here, like they're always quite surprised. And I think it's especially quite funny because my parents, they migrated from China to Europe for a better life. And they would be like, okay, why do you want to go back? You know, like you have it so great here. And I fully agree with that. Like I have it very, very great, like in like back home. And I'm definitely appreciative of the privilege that I get there. And I'm not saying it's bad, but I think it's just like a very personal situation at the end of the day. It's not only about like how good you have it and whatnot, but when you grow up and you've lived somewhere for like 20 plus years, at a certain point like you also want novelty and you want to venture out. And I think that's also one of the reasons why I want that. Not because it's not good back home, but because I want to have that adventure as well. I think in a lot of countries in Asia, like if you're really deciding to make the move to experience living there, of course not everything is as rose-colored. There's also pros and cons, like with every country. I think here some of the notable differences, if I am considering, for example, to make the move, is work-life balance, for example, or the earning power in some countries, I would say. Because coming from a Western country and earning in euros, it's quite a big heap to make that trade-off to, for example, earn in a Thai baht or a Malaysian ringgit, where the earning power globally on an international front is very different. Like, it might not be that big of an issue if you choose to stay in one country for the rest of your life, because of course the costs are also lower. But for me, I want to build international wealth. I want to be able to travel, to go back home wherever I want to, and that's not cheap. I think another thing is work-life balance. I feel like in a lot of Asian countries, work is put first. People generally work longer hours here. Sometimes there's the perspective of hierarchy, where you have to stay in longer in office for the sake of face, to show to your boss that you're hardworking, for example. Whereas back in Europe, in at least the Netherlands, this is not a concept at all. Like, life comes first and then work, in general, because it might differ for everyone. And this might be a hard change for people with a similar background like me, or people who are from Europe. But I think at the end of the day, it's all about trade-offs. There's a few areas in your life that you want to optimize for, be it your career, your personal life, your social life. So I think you need to decide for yourself what you value more. Is it more adventure right now, or is it your career, for example? And I think my experiences from the past years have also maybe been a bit more with rose-tinted glasses on, because predominantly I was always traveling here. But to actually work here, it might not be the same experiences that you got when you maybe visited the region. And that's something good to keep in mind. I think it's also good to talk about the challenges. One of those is loneliness and the ability to blend in or to feel like you're home. Of course, from an identity point of view, I've talked about it a lot, and yeah, like things might be similar, but they're still like you're still a foreigner, you know. I think in my previous experiences, it was always hard, I guess, to build up a new life there. But apart from like the thing you always have when you move to a different place, making friends, I think sometimes due to language barriers here, it's especially hard to blend in. But those might be blockers before you fully feel at home and can really mingle with the locals. You might have the feeling that the friends that you make here are always surface level. So that's why I would recommend you try to also learn the local language, so you can also talk with the locals, get connected with the locals, because honestly, for me, like, getting connected with the locals is really the biggest kind of a factor which makes me feel at home in a place. I think also something good to keep in mind is that yes, in Europe there might be a lot of bureaucracy and things might move very slow, but in Asia there's a lot of chaos and unpredictability, because sometimes things aren't structured that well, or depending on the country where you go, of course. And you have to be okay with that. I think for me, I feel like there's some kind of beauty in the chaos. For example, when I was in Vietnam, Saigon, Ho Chi Minh, for example, with all the motorbikes like just going around, like it's crazy. But I think it gives character. Like, there's just something to it, you know. There's just something unique to it. So for me, I think that's quite special. But depending on what type of person you are, you might not be able to handle the bustlingness as well. To end my video, I think Asia right now is a very exciting place to be at the moment. There's a lot of changes going on. There's a lot of growth in this region, and a lot of positive things, be it for like the weather or the food or like the convenience, for example. I think especially for my fellow Asians out there who have Asian roots but grew up overseas, try it, you know. I think, at least for me, like, it got me to connect a lot more with my identity and who I am, and I just feel, as I said before, very comfortable in this region. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in my journey in work, life and travel in Asia, be sure to subscribe to my channel and also like this video, because I'll be sharing a lot more content about whether I'll be making a move soon, or like other experiences in the region, or like just in general these kind of videos where I talk about a comparison between Europe and Asia. So thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.